Hi everybody, welcome to the Hard Truth Inside the Football Industry podcast with me, Philip Heidston, and Darragh McAnthony, chairman and co-owner of Peterborough United. Football is a beautiful game, isn't it, Darragh?
I'm happy for you, because I look for obviously few results on a Saturday. One's Liverpool, one's posh, and I always look for Bradford now.
Mm-hmm.
And I enjoyed watching the highlights of the Bradford game on the Quest show on Saturday night. So listen, as much as my weekend might be destroyed, you know what I mean. I'm always happy, when it gives you, Ryan and everyone at the club, mind you, Ryan's texted me, nights before matches. I'm very superstitious. He's done that now. He just lost, so he's listening. Stop fucking texting me the night before a match.
It's a bad omen.
Yeah, it is. I'm just like that. But no, I was happy to see you guys do the business. Like I said to you, I think you win the title. So, I'm moving my prediction up now that you'll have it done by 10 or 12 points. So that'll be.
It's been a nice start.
Easter weekend you'll be wrapped up by. So you get to
ready for it.
No, fair play. Well done. Well done. Your weekend was a good weekend. So let's start there. Let's talk Bradford first.
Yeah.
Before I upset anyone with my posh fucking ramblings. So.
And we had a good week. We beat Stevenage 4-1 on Tuesday. And that was probably the most complete performance we've had since we got relegated to League Two. So we're all maybe just a little bit too excitable after that, wondering, if things have changed a little bit. And then you follow it up away at Mansfield, who I'd be surprised if we play many better teams than Mansfield this season because they looked pretty strong as well.
They put together a good squad, and I think the key here is that it shows you Adams' experience and nous that if this was Bradford from 2 years ago or a year ago, you'd have maybe won on Tuesday and got battered by Mansfield.
Yeah.
Or drawn on Tuesday and nicked the win at Mansfield, but you've gone and you've won two very difficult games back to back.
Mm-hmm.
And as you said there, Derek, you've had to dig in, you've had to do whatever. The Mansfield game could have gone away from you, but the resilience was there. So you've got something you can see.
The funny thing is when we went 2-1 down, this is in my own kind of, as I'm watching, I start getting distracted. I get my phone out, I'm starting to look at other scores, because usually 2-1 down away from home means the game's over.
Sure.
And so, that's kind of how I've been programmed to think is we're losing it away from home, it's done. So it was actually quite a surprise when we pulled it back and then won.
Football's fucking weird like that, it's like it infects fans, when you've had the things go against you and the shit kicked out of you and stuff happen, you automatically fall into a mindset that naturally when you're losing away from home, you're not coming back to win that game. So, they're good habits now that you've got under obviously a very good manager. And obviously, look, I've had a go with him about being Darren, but I've never ever questioned his credibility as a very competent football manager. Football management is not a personality contest. At the end of the day, he's very accomplished. So you as a club, look, you're in a good place. Now, I'll stick to what I said a couple of weeks ago. One swallow doesn't make a summer. The first 5, 6, 7 games mean shit. The amount of times in the last 10 years, I think Peterborough 4 times have won their first 5, 6 games in League One, have won Manager of the Month 5 out of 10 years in August, and had a fucking average shite season. So, again, it's great. You've got the support. Just trust that manager. And even when it gets a bit sticky, he's the type of guy that'll get you out of the stickiness. So don't get distracted on your phone. Keep the faith.
Yeah, we got to make sure we protect, as much as you can protect yourself against injuries. But, they're already starting to pile up, as I'm sure they are at a number of clubs.
Fucking start with a word injury. I'll tell you, fucking, I don't know. Yeah. It's, yeah.
So how's your weekend then?
Well, the week was really good. I mean, look, Tuesday, we're playing Cardiff, and they're Cardiff, and you've seen how Cardiff play. I love Mick McCarthy, he's a great guy. And he's one of the old school guys. Me and Baz always laughed at when you ring clubs on weekends, you don't get any fucking answer. However, Mick will always answer. Like Baz was speaking to him yesterday about something, and he always fucking answers. And he's brilliant like that, because he's old school. These new age people don't fucking answer on Saturdays and Sundays after games or on a Sunday. And obviously Tuesday I woke up to the news like George Grant's not going to be available. So now we've got one fit central midfielder. So we had to move Josh Knight into midfield again, and we battered Cardiff for 80 minutes. I mean, we were quick, we were insightful, we were aggressive, and we were very, very good. We looked like a very good championship side, and again a very young team, and we're 2-0 up. And then obviously Cardiff, do what they do. They just fucking, it's relentless. The throw-ins, the set pieces, the free kicks. I think I counted it was 22 throw-ins. into our, they're basically like free kicks and the low averages, and they scored with 6 minutes to go. And then obviously this young team, we tried and we fought. And then the final kick of the fucking game, 5 minutes of injury time, but they scored in the 96th minute. And again, our fault. We don't stop the cross. We don't defend the cross. Goes under our goalie's legs. All the things, And you have to get results like that. We deserve to have that win, and that would have been a terrific start, And again, injuries. We lost, our one tower that we kept this summer, Mark Beavers, and you have to have one who's 6'5", who basically wins everything in the box. He's torn his fucking hamstring in the 68th minute. But there's so many positives from Harrison Burrows, again, our 19-year-old starlet. He gets his second goal in 2 games. Dembele, Clark Harris was unplayable against fucking giant defenders. I mean, unplayable to the point where he was fucked on Saturday. Do you know what I mean? Because he put so much into it. And actually, the Cardiff defender said when he went off on Tuesday, that was when they got back in the game. Because we couldn't keep the ball up the pitch. I think he bullied them so much. Do you know what I mean? So look, so many positives. And then obviously you go to Saturday, you play Preston, worst team in the league, bottom of the league, haven't won, fan protest, lost half the team to COVID. And the minute I hear all this, I just know what the result's going to be. Good old Posh, you're going to set them off on their winning ways. And, to be fair, we started like a limp dick. I mean, we did. We were like we were like the most impotent.
You just hung over from Cardiff.
Yeah, I think, you know what, and it's unacceptable to be like that, but that's where we are at the moment, where we have catch up to play. And I don't want, again, media listening to this, because already one of my comments from Instagram yesterday is a big headline in the paper today, and that drives me fucking mad. It's like, oh, you're digging out my players, trying to make me dig out my players more publicly, and it's sometimes I got to be careful, because that's not fair either. Look, we were lethargic. I'm going to call it what it was. We started lethargically. A wonderful opportunity. Clark Harris, he was just out of steam from minute 1 to the 90th minute. He'll always give you his all. He played 90 minutes, God bless him, but he was completely ineffective because he was just, from Tuesday night, he was fucked.
Mm-hmm.
Dembele was brilliant for an hour, but again, because he's come back from an injury, he couldn't do 90. Very much changed when he went off. They kicked the shit out of him. Jurgen Klopp wants to moan in the press about players. I mean, Dembele is probably the most foul player. I said to my manager yesterday, you got to be more box clever in advance of games and warn referees, because he's been targeted now. Like Cardiff had 3 on him. Preston yesterday was always 3 on him, which is great news because you've got spare men.
Yeah.
But with so much going on, Sammy's had a baby. Baby wasn't well, thank God. God bless, she's fine. She's come home now, but he didn't train for a week. He wasn't available on Tuesday. He was back on the bench on Saturday. So Marriott obviously still finding his minutes. He got a really good 30-minute run out. Again, sharp. But the problem is the gaffer couldn't start with them 2 up front. Maybe he would have started with 2 quick ones up front against the Preston for the counter-attack. And he can't, because he's not sure how long players are going to last at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
The best central midfielder we've got, Jack Payne, is still not back from his hand. I've heard good news today, so it's going to be a very good week for him. But again, all those little things. And then George Grant comes back from his ankle knock. Not as effective with Norburn in there. Norburn's been a brilliant signing, by the way. He's blown my mind. He's been such a surprise, because he's been one of the most cost-effective signings of the summer, and probably one of the, I was definitely right now, probably the best signing of the summer. So, but defensively, like Preston have a free kick, swing it in. Instead of us being a high line on the edge of our box, being box clever, our players go back onto the 4-yard line. And that's on them. And obviously, one of our centre-halves, who's 6'4", he's absolutely battered by Barrow in the air. Instead of like, this is my area, I'm defending. The goalie as well. The goalie was excellent on Saturday. He made like 5 one-on-one saves. But where he's already held his hands up in his interview was he didn't come off his fucking line. And what you want is, you want him to come out and smash her. I don't care. If he comes out and smashes it, makes a mistake, I don't care. Just come. I'd rather you do it than not do it. Just come. I know how good he can be, and Christie, and he's been brilliant for us. But I want him to show everyone that he belongs at this level. Just come and smash people. It doesn't matter if you drop one, if you miss one. I'm watching top goalies in the Premier League do it. I watched Alisson Becker against Burnley do it. It doesn't matter. Come and show them that you want to dominate. Because he's a sturdy fucker. So don't be frightened. You're not 6'9", you don't need to be. Just come and clear them. And look, these are the little things we're going to learn. And it's going to take us a while to learn. And of course, the natural reaction of everyone is, well, you need new centre halves, you need this, you need that. No, this is Peterborough United. We can't keep going out and signing 3, 4, 5 new players. I keep seeing, well, can you get another striker? Okay, great. Well, when Dembele's fully fit, Mario's fully fit, Schmodix is fully fit. Clark Harris is fully fit. Ricky J. Jones is back the end of October. So I've now got 5, and you want me to get a 6th. Again, the manager doesn't want 35 players at the training ground. That's where football clubs go wrong, where it's Raghorse Rovers and you're signing too many players. Do you know what I mean? So, will we strengthen with a week to go in the window? Potentially, yes. We need a couple in certain areas, but they've got to be the right ones, otherwise we won't. There's no point in just bringing numbers in. That's not what it's about. It's got to be quality now. It's not quantity. So I'm gutted for everyone, because it was a good opportunity to go there. And look, fair play to Preston. They should have been out of sight by half time. The gaffer again. If that was a game 2 months into the season, he would have made 3 subs at half time. And the reason he didn't is because he's not confident the players can stay on for 90 minutes.
Yeah.
So it's like, do you know what I mean? So,
yeah, he just can't, if Dembele needs to come off after 60, he can't use that sub on somebody else.
Whatever it might be. So I felt bad for the manager in that position, that he couldn't make the changes he wanted to make, But look, these are all building blocks, learning blocks. And I mean, the manager's very angry on Saturday when I spoke to him. We spoke yesterday for 2 hours. There's no doubt about it that, look, the Championship we always knew this, it's one of the toughest leagues in the world.
Mm-hmm.
We compete at this level. We're so angry because we feel we could have 3 wins by now. That's what we're most angry about. We're not angry because we've been dominated and destroyed. Look, against Preston, we pretty much dominated the second half. They got chances on the break because we're trying to attack and score. But Dembele from 2 yards has dribbled around 3 of them and should have scored. It's a different game. So we know what we've got. We know it's good enough. We know we can do really fucking well. And I mean really well. Not about surviving and staying up. We can do really well. Coventry are showing how well they're doing. So there are little things we have to change, and it's winning hearts and minds. And that includes our staff and players. We all have to step up a level. Some people probably still think they're in a different league. And it's time they realise this is a bigger league. And it's time they realise they're going to have to work a bit harder. This is the Championship. It's relentless. There are no 2 days off a week. So, they're the mindsets and the things we've talked about changing all summer. So it's going to take time. And the beautiful thing about the Championship is, after all our set play woes, all our issues from long throw-ins, we've got West Brom next.
Right.
Just
what you want.
You just so happen to be the best set piece, the best throw-in team in football. But I love it. At the end of the day, we have to be brave. So, yeah, West Brom at home next Saturday. From minute 1, they're going to be honest. They're going to be throwing the ball in. They're going to be littering our box. And you know what? Fans and everyone, it's going to get uncomfortable sometimes. But we have to embrace this. And we have to find a way to learn how to deal with it. And it's easy to say, well, let's go out and sign 2 6'7" defenders who can't play, but who can stand in the box and head the ball. That's not going to work in an 11 who are based on playing high-pressing, passing football. You can't put 2 centre-halves in a team that are like giraffes who can't play, and suddenly 20% of your team can't pass the football. That's you may as well change everything what you're trying to do and go, right, I'm just going to put 4 6'6" fellas in, and we're just going to go long. And that's how we're going to try and do this. That's not who we are. It's not our identity. So, yes, unfortunately, we're going to occasionally, get punished until we learn to be cuter, until our players mature a little bit. And it's going to take a few games, but we're going to win a lot of football games. And the chances we created against Cardiff and how we did against Derby when we clicked into gear, and even Preston in the second half, we will win a lot of games of football in this league. So, I'm not losing sleep about the results. I'm not table watching. I'm not, messaging myself like lots of fans are, on Twitter going, we don't trust the process and this, that, whatever, and moaning like fuck after 4 games. No. My job right now, support the manager, support the staff, push them to work harder, push them to change things that we need to change, recruit better players, like we have to, that fit with what we want to do, and we've stuck to that all along. And then support a football club as best I can. I said to the manager on Saturday night, with all due respect, and this goes for players, people, whatever, who aren't putting 100% in or aren't working as hard as they should be. I've spent nearly 60 days away from my wife and kids, and I didn't do it to watch other people fucking not put graft and shift in. So they need to get their finger out of their fucking assholes. And that's the truth. When I put my heart and soul in, and I put the work ethic in that I do, I expect it replicated by everybody in my football club. So that's my work ethic, and we have to be smarter, work harder, steal the inches. That's what we have to do. You know what I mean? And you watch Barnsley do it, and you watch the teams last year do it. It can be fucking done. But it's all based on one key ingredient, and that's hard work. If you don't have the hard work and you're not willing to sacrifice and put it in, then you're going to have an issue. Now, luckily, I feel we've got the right level of people for the work ethic to come out. But it's going to have to be dragged out of a few of them. And hearts and minds need to be won. And that's okay.
Now, we've got a week left in the transfer window until the transfer window closes. Do the challenges that you're having with injuries mean you're more likely to go and look at the loan market for some
No,
short-term moves?
no, we've always said we wanted two more players before the end of the window. I think everyone knows that. We wanted a central midfielder and we want one in another position. Tuesday I go down, tomorrow I'm driving to the club. I have a big meeting with a manager, Baz. Then I'm meeting with all the staff as well. So we're going to have a bit of a meeting before I go back to the States next week. So I want to just have a big meeting, talk about the next few months, talk about, again, winning hearts and minds, about the work we need to put in, the injuries. I spent Friday and Thursday on with our sports scientists, our physios, doctors about scans, about hamstrings, and nutrition coaches about, taking weight off where necessary on some players. Because truth be known, you do see a player or two who's like not in the condition you want them to be in, and that's not a slight on my staff because players have to help themselves. You're at such a professional level. You have to be professional to yourself in the condition you're in. So you have to live your life the best you can off the pitch. So I'm doing all those little things, the little inches I've talked about. Our players have to be almost like super fucking human men. If we want to really do well in this league, you have to look at our players and go, my God, they're in the shape of their lives. There's no coincidence that Bielsa's Leeds 2 years ago or 3 years ago walked away with the league title and then came up against teams who were throwing long throws in and battering them with balls in. But you know what they did? They ran more miles than them. They were fitter than them. They were stronger than them. They ran all over them late in games. And you saw the average height of the Leeds team. They weren't fucking towers. So everyone who's like obsessed about we need bigger defenders, we need bigger players, take a look at what Leeds did. And that's all based on body fat, body weight, fitness, conditioning. Do you know what I mean? And being the best you can be. So there are all those inches I want to win. So window-wise, we need to sign a central midfielder. We've been waiting and waiting and waiting because we've agreed for this player. This other club has to bring a player in. So we're getting to the stage now. If that doesn't happen, that could leave us in trouble if we really bank on that one. So we're going to have to look at plan B, C, and D. We're still hopeful on A. We're hoping that club says, look, there he is. You can have him. And then obviously there's one other area. Look, Tuesday, if the manager says, look, we need 3, I'll get him 3. I think it's 2. So, but if it needs to be 3, we'll do that too because we need to help. Beavers, he's going to be out for, I think it was 8 weeks, but 4 of those weeks are international breaks. So he's missed 6 games. And if we get that extra central midfielder, that means we've got 4 very good ones in there. And we're good in areas of the squad. And I said yesterday as well, our younger players, it's always about them stepping up. Harrison Burroughs, like 19, has stepped up and taken the championship on like for fun. You know what I mean? And we have other players capable of doing that as well. So it'll be an interesting recruitment meeting on Tuesday. Yeah.
For I don't want to say a typical owner because you're a lot more involved in the recruitment side than a typical owner would be. But the week going up to the transfer deadline, I mean, is it like all hands on deck? Like you imagine behind the scenes, everyone's running around like headless chickens, making phone calls 24/7, or is it more hurry up and wait? We've kind of got the pieces in place, and you just got to wait for things to happen.
So again, it's surgical. So all weekend I spent the weekend analysing Plan B, C, and D options. I've been speaking to my gem scouts non-stop. And that's just not about signing gems. That's about that player. We're out watching players at the moment in case we don't get Plan A. We're revisiting players we might have missed out on who moved but maybe aren't playing. We're doing all those things. We're covering all angles. I'm ringing Barry every day saying, right, ring that person, find out what are they on, what's the availability, We're looking at fitness levels. I'm looking at data and statistics for players who've started this season to see how they're coping and how they're doing. Because I don't want to go sign an unfit player. So that also, you might see a player you want, but they haven't played since May or April. So shit, okay. Is that going to take 6 weeks for them to? We ain't got 6 to 8 weeks to keep getting people fit and in condition. So again, that plays a part, as does all the key things, the age, the cost, the personality. So there's a lot. I mean, yesterday, I'm not a word of a lie. I spent 9.5 hours in front of the computer going through stuff and then having Zoom calls. This is on a Sunday. So it's making sure we cover all bases and do it right. And I've got the manager's back for that. That allows him then on a Sunday to do what he does, and I'm getting on with it, and then I'll update him and let him know and whatever, and he's happy with that. Because if he had to spend those hours doing that, it takes away from the key things he could be doing. So, Baz is great because no matter what, I'll ring him whenever, 12 at night, right, I need you to call such and such, fucking, he'll either get in his car or he's on the phone. So it's an evolving situation going on all the time. And not to mention also it's backed up by finance. It's all very well saying, well, go sign that player, go sign that player. Well, that doesn't always work the way you want it to. can't just go out and pay 10 grand a week for a player and break your whole pay scale and then upset everyone in your fucking football. That doesn't work either. So, and then you got prices people put on. And then you got the inevitability of we have a player like Dembele who's shown he can rip the championship alive. And, you know, again, someone makes a phone call or makes an offer that's substantial, and I would expect it to be fucking seriously substantial because of how good he is at 24 years of age in the championship. And again, we have to react to that. So I have to have a plan B to react to that if that happens. So yeah, a little bit of that going on, you know what I mean? So, but like I said to you last week, things can change really quickly. Well, Norburn was off our radar because we just thought he was unattainable. And out of nowhere, we got you know, tipped off that he was available. You know, those things sometimes just turn. And look at him; he's been our best player the last 3 years. So football's funny like that.
You know, you talked about doing the data analysis. Where do you get data from for players that are not your own players? Is that part of the secret sauce, or is there like a place for you to go and get that information?
No, well, I've got. I mean, I can tell you off book, but yeah, I've got 3 different sources for it.
Mhm.
So, and I've got my guys tapped into each of the source, and then I've got my analyst on a gem team. I've got 2 scouts, and I've got a chief person who works on. I've now got a 4-man team. It was a 2-man team last year in League One.
Yeah.
So it's now 4.
So you're out there collecting data, like primary data all the time that you can use for your own decision making.
I've got stuff plugged in that sends me every Monday, all the data from the leagues, Scotland, Ireland, England. I've then got my guys who send me the reports on a Sunday morning from the games they watched on a Saturday. Then on Monday, I get told where they're going on a Tuesday, or I'll tell them where they're going on a Tuesday. I then have one of my guys, an analyst, who designs charts and pie charts and stuff like that to compare current players that I put over on top of one of my current players, a new player with a current player. So we have Jack Taylor with a central midfielder. All right, look at that chart. Geez, that guy presses more than him. That guy's pass percentage is better than him. That guy's tackling is better than him. So all of that's in place. I would envisage by next summer, when we start looking European, I would increase that team by double. So I would probably have 7 to 8 in that team. So this is something, you know, I'm investing in because I think it's important to invest in. So yeah, all those little inches. But again, I can't go into the detail of the sources and where and how.
Now, you mentioned Norburn a couple of times, and actually I had a question that I was going to bring in later, but I think it's a good spot to bring it in. It was from Mark, who is a Shrewsbury fan, and he said it's interesting to hear your thoughts on Norburn's qualities because those aren't necessarily things that when you talked about him that a fan would notice. And so my question is, you know, are you looking for attributes that aren't obvious to a supporter? And that's like what gives you the differentiation, because you're looking for different things, and so you're able to uncover people like that do the job you've talked about that other folks may say, you know, I don't think they've got it in them.
Correct. So Norburn early in his career would be more box-to-box midfielder, where he'd score goals. He'd have 4 or 5 goals a year. As he's matured in his career and he's become a better tackler and passer, he's gone from maybe an 8 to a 6. So he played more of a 6 role. And we identified his key characteristics to play 6 for us by the miles he runs in the game, his high tackling percentage, and his safety pass percentage in dangerous areas. When I say that, it's easy to make a pass 20 yards from the opposition's box, but it's dangerous when you're making a pass 10 yards from your own box. And, and particularly when you're under pressure. So if you watch them against Cardiff, for example, there were times where there were 3 players on him, and he was in an area that if he lost the ball, the high probability of them scoring was 70%. But the trust in him, where he never gave the ball away, even on him and someone around him, he found one of our players. So what he's shown us is he stepped up a level, but his intelligence and common sense on the pitch is at any level. He can play as high as he wants. And his fitness has been incredible. This is a guy who didn't have a pre-season because he was away, I think it was Bermuda, playing international football. And he's come in and played championship level, high intensity games. And absolutely, like against Preston in the 95th minute, 94th minute, they broke on us because we had everyone up the pitch. And he's chased the guy 60 yards back into the box and made a tackle. That's shame on some of our players who've had a full pre-season, and he's fitter than them. So what that tells me is his heart, which isn't a statistic or a demographic you can cover, he's got heart. And I like heart in a player. So he might be 28 and he might appear on his record to be, is he a journeyman? Is he whatever? No, he's a very, very effective tool in what we do. And he could be sensational. And his career could explode late because he's done very well at League One. Maybe the Shrewsbury fans didn't get the best of him at the end. Who knows? You fall out of favour, you fall out with managers, you've been in the club too long. But from where he started with us, he could go on and on. Now, in saying that, he can make me look like a dick and have a fucking disaster in games. But I don't think it's in his character. And I said this at the start. My football secretary rang me and said, "Oh, this guy really fancies himself," when she met him. And I confused that with arrogance. And she was like, "No, no, 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 no. He's very humble, but he knows he's good enough. And he rates himself. He's a leader." So I like all those things. And they're things we'd heard about, but until you see them, you don't know them. So, you know, he's now, for me, a very, very good number 6. So now it's on George Grant, Jack Taylor, whoever else we bring in to partner him. Because right now, he's been the best of all our central midfielders. By a mile.
Yeah, and it was only, you know, an unusual signing for you at 28 years old. You know,
It
you're
was.
usually going a little younger than that.
You're absolutely right. It's actually, I've never paid a fee for a 28-year-old of that magnitude. Never paid a 6-figure fee. And the reason we did it was because it was a 3-year package. It was money well spent on a key position. In other words, forget the player and invest in the position number 6. You know, is he going to play 40 plus games a year? Is he going to do this for you? Is he going to help you the way you want to play? Tick, 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 tick. And truth be known, my manager loved him.
Yeah.
He has been. He's driven me fucking mad for 2 years. But he's always been, well, he's £1 million and he's 27, or it's 800 grand and he's 27. And, you know, I'm the one always being like, you know, yeah, I like him, but I'm worried about the cost.
It doesn't fit the model.
Yeah, well, not even the model per se. You're right, but it's cost versus the model.
Yeah,
and you know, I can't spend 700 to 800 grand of Peterborough's money on a 27, 28-year-old, but I can do if it's a lot less than half that. So they're the things you look at. So he's been a really pleasant surprise, and I think he's a really good character-wise addition to the dressing room, and you need people like that. So look, I've always said, and it showed with the Norburn signing, that yes, we have a model, yes, we have a way of doing things, but occasionally I'll go outside the mix to serve a point, to fill a gap. And when I say fill a gap, I mean it respectfully, not disrespectfully. That you know, even if we sign a striker, it might not be the typical posh signing. So I'll fill a position and a gap and do it for the good of the team. Whereas 80% of what I do is good of the club and the team. So I will go outside of it occasionally. Won't happen 3 or 4 times, but it might happen once or twice.
So let's go broader for the rest of the results over the weekend. Your Liverpool boys, another win against Burnley on Saturday. That was the early game. You know, I look at the rest of the Premier League. It was Brentford got a great point away at Palace. It shows that, you know, they're that they're going to cause some trouble. You know, they're not just going to be walked over.
Excellent defense. 8 clean sheets in 10 games.
Yeah.
Probably they'll finish with a top 8 defense this year.
And poor old Arsenal lost again.
Yeah, I mean, I watched all the games. Liverpool were excellent. I loved a couple of big. Forget the win, forget the results. A couple of bright points for me were Henderson, tremendous. When he plays, Liverpool have a high probability of winning the league. He's missing the dad. Van Dijk. I watched him last week against Norwich, and I'm like, I can't really judge how he is after the ACL until I see him with a test physically. Well, he passed the physical test. A bit nervous early on, a couple of headers. Chris Wood kind of got in there, whereas Van Dijk a year ago would be mopping that up all day long. But as the game wore on, it was the old Virgil van Dijk. And if he stays fit and his knees hold up, Liverpool always have a chance because of his strength, his leadership, what he brings to the defence. But not only that second goal where he sprayed a 60-yard pass that led to the goal. So Liverpool look in good shape. I still worry. They've sold Shaqiri. I still worry about their squad. I still worry that the African nations, when there's 2 of the front 3 missing, you know, we've got an issue here. You know, Mane and Salah are going to be gone. That leaves you Firmino with Jota. Jota, I have no problem with. Firmino, I do, because he's averaged 8-9 goals a season. So I worry tremendously that we're going to get to January in a great position again like last year. And then we're going to have 6-7 games without 2 of the best players in the league. So that concerns me. You know, for me, now's the time for Liverpool's owners to go out and make one statement signing and do what I do and go outside your box and go out and spend, because they pretty much have a net deficit and they've spent fuck all the last few years. Go and spend 120 million on Mbappé.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to pay it over 4 years anyway, so that's how big transfers are done.
Yeah.
So it's 30 million a year. The sponsorship you're going to get from the signing will probably pay for half of that fee. Yeah. The player is 22. So again, it's
his resale value.
His resale value when COVID's gone in a couple of years, he'd be worth 200-300 million.
Yeah.
So, you know, not only that, Liverpool will win league titles and Champions Leagues with that one signing. They've got everything else. Go sign him. Go get him in there, and fuck me almighty, you're going to change everything. Now, they'll say, well, we can't compete with, Man City and whatever. I disbelieve that. The owners of Liverpool are very wealthy people. They could pay an Mbappé 250 grand a week. And I don't. Will it upset their dressing room? No, because I think the dressing room will be happy with that one signing that could basically propel them to more titles.
Yeah.
And they'll be all right with that. So, for me, that's the signing to make. If it's not Haaland, it's him. They're one of the two best assets in football for the next 10 years. That's for me how Liverpool could maybe change things up and shock all their fans. I'd like a special signing before the end of the window. I think we need it. If we don't, we won't win the league title. If we don't make one, possibly two more signings in those areas, won't win the league title. So get on to Arsenal. Getting hammered. Arteta's getting hammered. I'm going to defend him for a couple of minutes, and I'm going to say, I like some of the recruitment. I understand what they're trying to do. Come out and tell everyone. Come out and tell everyone that you basically take an agent out of the team. You're bringing the average age down. You're buying the best young gems and jewels out in English football. Here's where you want to be. Here's how long it's going to take. Appease the fans by telling them the truth. And just say, look, we're going out and buying the Ben Whites of the world. We're buying the boy from Real Madrid. We've got obviously Smith Rowe. We've got Kieran Tierney. We want a core group of 6-7 of these young lads under 24 who we think in the next 2 years will be unbelievable. And we think with a little bit of sprinkle around them, we can definitely go for top 4 this year. And we can definitely go for a title next year. But it's going to take some short-term pain for some long-term gain. So come out and be honest. You can't. Everyone wanted to go Kroenke because they didn't spend money. Well, now they're the biggest spenders in the window, so you can't have that go with them. So now it's on Arteta to basically get the results. They've had COVID issues. They've had a couple of shitty results. Chelsea were tremendous yesterday. I said to you, they're my tip for the title now. Unless Man City sign Kane, then it'll be Man City by 20, 15 points. But I looked at it yesterday and got, I'm not judging them on that game. I'm not going to judge them on Man City. Let them get through those games, the international break, and then the next 10 games. I'd be saying to myself, if Arteta doesn't win 7 out of those 10 games, he then deserves questions asked of him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it feels like there's a big risk of him not being around to see the project to fruition.
100%. And that's the problem. If you're going to invest that money and bring these young players in, you have to give the manager the same level of support and time. Because it's going to take him time in the training ground to get across what he wants. And there were bits that were good yesterday against Chelsea. They were very naive. If Chelsea wanted to up a gear yesterday, they could have upped a gear at any time.
Now, you talked about Harry Kane there. Where's your money? Is Harry Kane going to be a Manchester City player by the end of the transfer window?
No. Two things are going to happen there. Either Tottenham give him the biggest contract they've ever paid out and pay him 400 grand a week, and that's the only way they keep him, or Man City will get to 130, 140, and it'll be who blinks first come deadline day. That could be one of those late days.
Mm-hmm.
That could be one of them where Kane's in between Manchester and London on deadline day.
Sitting in the services, the so-called services.
That could be one of those. So, I've always said, look, Nuno's done really well at Spurs. They've won their first 2 games. They now look solid at the back. He's building from the back because that's the type of manager he is. He's very Mourinho-like in that counter-attacking, clean sheet manager. Levy needs to make a decision now, and I'd say he has. They need to line up plan B and see if they do end up selling Kane, who they're bringing in. Because if they sell Kane and don't sign anyone, that'll be catastrophic because they don't have the backup. They don't have the strength and depth to play in European fronts, as you saw. They lost like a European minnow the other night. So they don't have the squad level. So they need to do a bit of business. They need 2 or 3 signings. But I think the more his manager wins, the more pressure is off him.
Right.
Man City, they really need a striker after they won 5-0 Saturday.
The missing piece of the jigsaw, right, is a few more goals.
But if I was going to make a bet at the table, and it's red or black, I'm going all in and saying Man City sign Harry Kane.
Yeah. And as you say, the later that gets, or the nearer that gets to deadline, the more difficult that can be for Spurs because it can define their season.
Sky are paying me to have, they were the highest bidder for my services on deadline day. There was 4 bidders, believe it or not. So I'm in the Sky Studios on deadline night. So that'll be interesting to hear all the juice and what's going on. But I'd be amazed if that wasn't a late show.
Now, across the rest of the leagues, is there anything that stood out for you this weekend?
I like what Coventry are doing.
Mm-hmm.
I think they got a good start. I was shocked at Luton getting battered 5-0.
Right, yeah.
That blew my fucking mind. Fair play to Lee Boyer. He's obviously a very, very good internal manager. You know, he's not the most inspirational interviewer you've ever seen,
Mm-hmm.
but he's fucking very good at his job. He's good at Charlton. I always said that. He's obviously very good when he's gone in and done at Birmingham. You know, Birmingham had a few shit years. There's been a lot of dissent, a lot of changing managers. You know, to go to Luton and fucking batter them 5-0, that's a shock. So I don't know what went on at Luton, because they were very, obviously, well, we made them look very fucking good in game one of the season. Cardiff, 2 of their centre halves are like in the Golden Boot stakes to win the Golden Boot for the championship.
Shows their style of play, doesn't it, as you were talking about earlier?
Yeah, but you know what? I'm not going to criticise that, because that's Mick.
Yeah.
Mick will do what he's got to do. And they're the ingredients he's got. And I have a lot of respect for him as a manager. And you can moan like fuck about, oh, well, they're just hammering you with throw-ins and whatever. Fuck, that's football. If that means you're scoring goals and winning games, they'll do it. And good for them. So you know, I have a lot of respect for him. And actually, I did say, I think in the summer, dark horse, I think Cardiff are going to be up there. Bournemouth, Blackpool, good comeback by Blackpool.
Yeah.
You know, down 2-2, good game. Fulham blown everyone away. So they seem to be, you know, they've just spent 8 million on Brazilian. You know, the front player they have, Mitrovic, is like a toy store to him playing in the Championship. What else surprised?
But then you got Sheffield United having a tough start to the season. They lost at home to Huddersfield.
Yeah, I'm not. I know the Sheffield United fans are losing their shit. I think when he was at Fulham, he won 3 of his first 17 games and they got promoted. So again, be careful judging a new manager on early results.
Yeah,
and that's a squad very capable of winning 10 in a row. So again, he's got an embarrassment of riches in the striking department.
Mm-hmm.
I think his biggest issue is deciding who his front two
right. It's who to play.
And once you stop all the tinkering and do that, you know, they'll have a very settled side. And I know their fans are like panicking and talking about, oh God, we're going down again. No way. That for me is still the best squad in the league. The West Brom manager, he's a lunatic in a good way. I love watching him on the sideline. He looks like he's frightened the fucking life out of you. Not me, I'm a big guy. But, you know, if you met him in a dark alleyway, I mean, he's... but I love his passion. I love his style of play. What he did at Barnsley, he's doing exactly the same at West Brom. They've got exactly what they paid for. They start games quick. They're at it. They're pressing you. I love it. I absolutely fucking love it. I wanted us to be like that, but it's going to take us a while. Yeah, that's really interesting to watch.
Now, when you look at Sheffield United with the other strikers, and like you say, they're kind of figuring out which is the best pair. Is it hard to figure that out on the training ground? Like, do you need it in the match situation? It's just a matter of finding 2 players that click, and then when they click, it's off to the races. Because that's what I've seen, you know, from us before with successful seasons is really poor starts, and suddenly someone gets injured, or you just try something different, and suddenly that partnership just clicks, and you stick with them for the rest of the season. They're just banging in goals.
As an owner, you'd want McBurney and Brewster to be a partnership for the future. You've spent 35 million on them two, and their age, and then obviously you got Billy Sharp and McGoldrick, who upset all those odds because they're such terrific players. Mm-hmm. They're both in the middle of their 30s and at the end of their career.
Yeah, Billy Sharp's still scoring, kind of incredibly.
He's just world class at the EFL level. He always has been. So as an owner, you're like, well, go with the young ones. As a football fan, you're like, no, I want Billy or I want McGoldrick because he's a fucking handful and Billy scores off the knockdowns and da-da-da-da-da. So it's a bit of a tough one for that manager. I guess only he can make that mind up. I think as you start winning games and you're at the top, you're thinking, okay, can they do a job for me? But now I'm looking at the Premier League again. You know, I can't take some of them into the Premier League. So it's going to be a bit like that. But I still think Sheffield United are going to be up there. They're going to be one of the favourites for second place. You know, so yeah, Championship's fascinating to watch. It really is.
And then League One, we have Sheffield Wednesday continuing with a good start, winning away at Rotherham. Producer Henry's happy with Bolton winning at Oxford. Let's see, anything else stood out? Ipswich struggling.
Sheffield Wednesday's not a surprise. They didn't lose any of their good players. They kept all their good players, you know, and some of the best players. And they should really piss this level once they're like settled down and the owners obviously got interested again and all that stuff died down. They got a very good goalkeeper on loan. Bolton, not surprised by that. I was on the 5 Live podcast speaking to their manager months ago. He's an impressive guy. Mm-hmm. Again, like Sheffield United had a horrendous start there and then went on a run from February onwards.
Yeah, they were below us in February in League Two.
Yeah, it's called momentum, Phil. Yeah. And they've kept the momentum up and they're in a good place, Bolton. It's good for their fans. And who else in that league? You just mentioned there.
Yeah, we have, let's see as I go through. Ipswich drew with MK Dons.
Yeah, Ipswich are finding their feet, spending a lot of money. I think they gave Accrington Stanley like 700-800 grand for one of their players. They've spent a lot of money. People are obviously saying they spent a lot of money, but I'll always argue when you've got 30,000 fans bringing in hundreds of thousands per week in the gate, you can spend that kind of dough. Try spending it when you don't have that kind of large fan base. But they'll find their feet. I've always said that Paul Cook's won that league twice. So I'd be astonished if he doesn't turn that around pretty quickly. Wimbledon, obviously, I said to you, they're my kind of dark horse. Sunderland are kind of purring along in the background. They picking up the wins. Nothing exceptional or spectacular. So you think, obviously, look, that league fell fucking hell. I mean, it's a ridiculous league. The only one I'm surprised that is struggling is Charlton so far. They have a great start. So it'll be interesting to see their new owner, the fellow who plays the guitar, whether or not, does he get trigger happy if they lose another couple of games? Because obviously he, wants promotion. So that'll be interesting.
What do you make of Wickham this season? Having come down and, they have the risk of they come back down and, they get absorbed into the league because of all these tough teams, but they've started well.
Yeah, I didn't expect anything less. I mean, they've signed some good players. Vokes has been a good addition for League One. He's a Wickham type player now. They obviously like a band of brothers there, so they very much play off that, internally, externally. It works for them. Ask me again in January. Again. So it's when squads are stretched. It's when you go on a bad run, when you lose a few games, But do I expect Wickham to be up there favourites for promotion at the end of the season? No. But would I be surprised? Wouldn't be surprised if they did it. So they obviously have a manager who loves the club. Like I said, it is a band of brothers type thing. And when you have that in a league that's a little bit temperamental, with results up and down and other clubs basically bottling it, who knows? But they're obviously got to be loving life in League One and their start.
Yeah, and then down into League Two, Exeter finally get off the mark with a big win at Bristol Rovers, who are continuing to struggle.
I'm shocked. I said it last week, and I'm surprised that Joey's obviously still in a job. Fair play to the owner of Bristol Rovers, because I'd be at this point probably panicking. So, but then again, I'm not there. So maybe you watch stuff behind the scenes, you see training, and it's a different story. So, but they need to start winning. Yeah. They're far too big a club to be struggling like they are at the moment. So, who else in League Two? Salford, yeah. Very surprised at that. It doesn't seem to be happening. But they've got a good squad. I think they need to make one or two additions. I've always said that. That maybe a couple of missing ingredients in there. Who else?
We got Forest Green hit Crawley for 6. So they've had a really strong start to the season.
One of my ex-gems, Matty Stevens, I paid Barnard 150 grand for him as an 18-year-old. He's finally doing the business. God bless him. Prolific at youth level. He's now shown at league level. We have a nice chunky sell-on in there, so hopefully someone will pay the old big bucks.
Keep on scoring then.
Yeah, fair play to the vegans. Forest Green. I have to get my fellas in this diet as well if they keep that up. And like I said to you, it's an interesting league. Is there anyone that's a dark horse so far that surprised you?
When I look down the results, I mean, there isn't really that many results that have surprised me. I guess I'm surprised how Walsall have started. They've been struggling. And Swindon, how they've kind of come back from the dead pretty quickly. And I mean, when you've got Jack Payne up front in League Two, then you're always going to score goals.
It's going to take a while. They've signed a lot of players. It's a lot of lastminute.com stuff going on. But again, it's a big club by that league level. The beauty about League Two is there's 7 places up for grabs for playoffs and automatic promotion. You could be 15th, 16th in League Two in January and have a chance. So you've got a good 4 months really to play catch up and get your act together. Mm-hmm. And I think the new owner of Swindon, he's got a few quid. So don't be surprised if they get their act together by January and again sign more players in January and go again.
All right, let's before we go into the questions, I wanted a couple of extra things I wanted to chat about. One is English players going abroad. So Tammy Abraham signed for Roma. Joining the likes of when Jadon Sancho and Bellingham went and played abroad. What do you think of English? Because it's relatively rare, but we're seeing it more and more, like we're seeing a trickle, I'd say, rather than, it's a waterfall of players going abroad. But what do you say to young English players thinking about going abroad as perhaps an opportunity for them to grow, develop their career?
Fair play. It's more on a trickle if you go through the lower levels. There's a lot of 18s, 19s going that you don't hear about. I know that for a fact because I see a lot of the names thrown at me and they're from France.
Yeah, they're all wanting to come back.
Yeah, correct. And they've done 2 years, in France. They've done 2 years in Italy. So fair play. I think I always respect anyone who travels to work and to get an opportunity. You have to respect when you leave your family and you leave your home and you go outside your comfort zone. I think Tammy, it's a great move. I think Jose gets so much out of him. Jose, look what he did with Drogba's career. And I think if he does similar to what happened with Lukaku or Conte, and he does that with Tammy will be the next 75 to 100 million pound sale in 2 years because he's got age, he's got strength, he's got ability. You saw the 2 assists yesterday in the win for Roma. And don't be surprised if Mourinho wins the league title with Roma, and does that because that's a typical Jose Mourinho thing to do. I think 34 million is ridiculously good value. I'm fucking astonished. Other teams, Tottenham, Liverpool, teams like that will go in and, I mean, spending that 34 million is like money in the bank because you're getting a target man, you're getting a young English player, you're getting strength, pace, availability, goals. He's got everything. I'm amazed Aston Villa. I know they got Ings and whatever else, but they had him before. So, I am shocked that Liverpool and Tottenham weren't at the races for that one.
No, could that because they didn't know? I mean, are some of these deals done on the side where it's a surprise, or?
No, they knew.
Yeah.
I mean, Arsenal tried to sign him. They knew. Everyone knew. Everyone knew Chelsea had to lose a striker to bring Lukaku back. What Chelsea have done very cleverly is they spent 100 million and they've recouped 100 million in fees. So their net excess spend is like fucking zero. So, they might have spent 100 million, but they haven't spent 100 million. So everyone knew he was available. So I am astonished other clubs in the UK didn't go and buy him because I think we've lost a very good player to the Italian league. But listen, this is the world of football, and it's great to see.
When you talked about some of the kids that you will see that are wanting to come back at a lower level into English football, how do you compare the quality of football abroad versus what it's going to be like in the EFL? Like, do you look at the leagues and say, yeah, I know that, League Two in France is going to be a similar quality of, whatever in England? Or like, how do you do that comparison?
Well, you can only do it when you watch a lot of games or you have them in the train. And we've had a couple of players from abroad in the train, and they've been miles off our level. And that's from maybe the lower leagues in France or in Portugal, which aren't as physical, they aren't as quick. These players take time to adapt. If you look at when Brentford have signed foreign players, and the one thing I'll say when we start signing foreign players, you do the same. The average Brentford signing from abroad is taking 4.5 months to adapt before they hit the floor running. You look back at Mopay when he came over. You look at Brian Mbima. You look at some of the signings they've made. They've taken a few months to adjust to the culture, to the style of play, to the physicality. So you have to have that in mind. And sometimes our fans, you want to write a player off too quickly, when really you have to say, no, you got to understand the circumstance. The level is different. The culture is different. You have to buy time and give time to people. So when we start doing that foreign signings, we want to start doing next summer, we're going to have to allow for that. And that's the difference for me.
And the last question I had, and you referenced it a little bit right at the very beginning. We have Solskjaer and Klopp being vocal about the referees being too lenient this year, and I just wanted to get your take on that.
Bollocks. I have no problem with how Burnley play. Come and live in our life in the Championship. I mean, fuck me almighty what Klopp would have said when we played Cardiff. You know what I mean? Like, we saw the throw-ins and stuff going in. I think Jurgen's playing mind games. Maybe Solskjaer's doing the same. Who knows? I watched the Burnley game, and I enjoyed the game. I thought Burnley were very good. Typical. Sean Dyche is brilliant at what he does. Limited budget. So, yeah, I don't know why Jurgen's critical, but listen, it is what it is. Managers want to play mind games. I don't think he was losing sleep about what happened during that game, Jurgen.
No.
I'm looking at Chelsea next week and Lukaku, and he's trying to put in the referees' heads that Lukaku, for some reason, bullies our back to.
Yeah. Don't let him get away with it.
We win a few more free kicks. A little bit of kidology. I love the new kind of let it flow, angle from the refs. I have no problem with that. Someone who just hates constantly seeing players fucking go down or the flow of the game stopped. There's nothing worse than a whistle going non-stop during a game. It's just frustrating. Or a player lying on the ground getting treated constantly. I just hate that. I want to just watch football. I want it to flow. And referees can play a big part of that and tell people to get the fuck up and get on with it, But they have to do it both ways. They can't be doing it just for one team. It has to go for both teams. So right now, I'm enjoying the start of the Premier League more than the actual Football League. And I haven't said that for years. I think it's flowing. It's good. There's goals. VAR isn't as contentious. Decisions are being let go. Long may it continue.
We have a couple of listener questions this week, and I'm going to start with Zach, who's a Leeds fan.
Cool.
He says, just a quick but not necessarily easy question for Darragh. What are the top 3 transfer deals that you've ever done, either buying or selling?
Dwight Gale bought for 500 grand, 10 grand a month for 50 months. Sold him after the 6-month payment, paid 60 grand. Sold him for 6 million. So that's 60 grand out, 6 million in. Another 2 million add-ons, so 60 grand out, 8 million in. Another deal, a good one. I'm just trying to think, like, what are the bargain ones or whatever else. You could even say Russell Martin cost me 0. We ended up with 7 figures, even though you didn't go for mega money. We got paid multiple times on Norwich promotions. You've then got your obvious ones. You know, your Son Belongest. Look, Ivan Toney, 350 grand, payable over 3 years. In fact, when I sold him, we still owed Newcastle 50 grand of the transfer fee. So, you know, we just earned $1 million in May, and we have another couple of million to go. So we will get up past the 10 million figure we've always spoken about. So there's been a few tasty ones. The Gale one's obviously the most interesting one because of the output and the time. He was gone after 6 months signing with us. Yeah, long may those deals continue.
And so that's the criteria then for you on what makes a good deal is financially. What the financial impact was.
You could say that, but I would also say, what does the player contribute?
Yeah.
So, because you can talk about Gale, and Gale didn't keep us up, Ivan Toney didn't get us promoted. So then if you go on that criteria, Clark Harris, 1.2 million over 4 years, wins a Golden Boot, Player of the Year, promotion. So really, he cost us 350 grand down. And he scored 33 goals and won us promotion. So you would say that's a better deal than the deals I've just mentioned because it got us to the championship.
All right. Luke on Twitter, who's a Charlton fan, he said, I want to know what your thoughts are on Charlton's transfer business. We've had a tough start and the crowd are starting to turn.
I'm surprised the owner hasn't spent more. I thought, you know, the changes were in place there, that when he came in, there was going to be, you know, serious backing. I know they bought the boy from Crewe, you know, but I thought, you know, again, that was a squad, maybe in a team that needed 4 or 5 good signings that would cost money because they've got the fan base, they've got the size, they've got the manager who's won promotion from that level with Scotty Am at Southampton. So there's no doubt everything's in place. Have they got the squad? Have they got the players? So I don't know. I haven't analysed Charlton's squad enough. But if they weren't vying for top 2, it should be a failure, particularly for a club that size. Again, 15, 20,000 fans every week. It's a big football club for that level.
And then our final question this week comes from Tom on Twitter. In fact, I have one more last-minute one that I'm going to throw in at the end. But Tom on Twitter asks, how seriously does the club take travels and hotels? So is there corporate deals that you do with specific hotel chains, or, you know, are you working kind of match to match to figure out where to put the players?
Liz takes care of all of that. We obviously have a coach company contract in place. We have normal hotels we like going to. The manager has a certain style of hotel he wants, a certain mileage away. Hotels that can give us the food, the catering we need. It's not cheap. Away travel can cost us up to 4 grand an away trip. So you do that over 23 games or whatever else. So you throw in coach travel with that as well. It's an expensive part of it. Hence, when you're in League 1 and League 2, you try and only have 9, 10 away games by travel. The rest you drive up to on a day. And sometimes we don't get a result. I want them to fucking drive up every
walk up.
Punish them, you know. So again, Liz, my football secretary, she knows I've trained her to nick inches here and there to get discounts and deals. So I'm sure she's on
that. Who decides if you travel overnight or stay the day of the game?
We do a budget at the start of the season. The manager's told how much he has, and then he divides it how many away games he can do. Okay. So you look at the fixtures and go, right, my budget will stretch to 12. Now I'm going to pick which 12. So that's, you know, budget, his decision.
Do you often get, or do you ever get, where the manager will bring the team together to stay overnight for a home game because there's a reason, for example, that you want that kind of collectivity?
Done it before. We don't do it now. Our players like to spend nights in their own beds. Players don't like travelling away. So I've never been the one to punish our players to try and keep them near the training ground for a week, like some managers or some owners have done. Or why don't you stay, like Man United, Liverpool, I think even at a home game, they stay in a hotel the night before. We don't do it that way. If we were in the Prem, would we do it? I don't know. You look at all those things and just go, well, is that an extra inch or nick in, or do players prefer to be with their wives and kids the night before a game?
Last question, which was a last-minute ad from Stefan, who asked on Twitter. So the rumours are that Bradford are looking to sign Omar Bogle this week. Somebody that I think you had on loan as he's been to a lot of different clubs the last few years. Any thoughts from you on why perhaps his career hasn't taken the direction that he has the potential for it to take?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be against that move. We looked at him when he was at Grimsby. Grant McCann liked him a lot. I was always on the fence. Technically, he could score goals at that level. Technically, not the best. We got him on loan. We paid a loan fee. We took him in. It didn't go well. He clashed with Steve Evans. There were issues. It was not a good signing. We wasted money. He scored a couple of goals early on. Now, I don't want to write the boy off. I don't want to say he's a bad egg. He's had a lot of moves. He's been a bit of a lone ranger the last couple of years. You've got a good thing going on. I'm sure you'll do your due diligence. Maybe he's grown up. There's no doubt he could fucking tear it apart at League 2 level. A bit like Lee Angol. Could absolutely tear it apart. But I said to you, the culture of winning promotions is built on a good dressing room, which I've realised the last 20 months is so important. So I dare say Ryan and Derek will do their due diligence on that and go from there.
Well, with that being said, let's wrap things up for this week. Thank you as ever, Darragh. Keep the questions coming. You can ask the questions on Twitter at hardtruthpod, I think is the handle, or come over to our contact form, hardtruthfootball.com/contact.
Thanks, guys.
All right, thanks a lot. Take care, everybody.